Good day, class. This is Miss De La Torre, and for today's class, we're going to have the discussion about technology and the evolution of the human society. Specific things to include in this lesson are the following. First off, we're going to start with the different human societies and how they are evolving through time, to be followed by the different classification of society and their respective technology. And lastly, we're going to end with the different national development indicators in the context of science and technology. Proceeding now to the evolution of the human society, of course, we all know that from the beginning, we are noted to be hunter gatherers. This particular society is consist of human beings that are nomadic or are performing nomadic lifestyle, meaning they do not have any permanent settlements during this time, and they are dependent on the resources available in nature because again the concept of domestication and agriculture is not yet developed during this time. Thus, we are primarily hunting our food for us to survive, and we're making use of hunting tools such as those that are made up of stones, wood, bone, and ivory. Okay, after the hunter gatherers followed or follows rather the shifters or the farmers. So this time during this particular period, we're already able to establish permanent settlements. Okay, we're no longer wandering from different places just to look for food because again, we have the ability now to domesticate animals and to cultivate our own food or crops. Okay, during this particular society, following once again the hunter gatherer society, shifters and farmers society are also noted for the discovery of mining. Okay, because remember during this time, we're no longer just using stone tools for agriculture. We are already capable of creating tools made out of bronze and later on iron during the Iron Age for better agricultural practices. Okay, so again, this time the shifters and farmers are already practicing permanent settlements. They already know how to cultivate crops and domesticate animals for food consumption. After the shifters and the farmers comes what we call the manufacturing or the processing society. Okay, obviously, this is the one that describes or dominates dominates, okay, during the industrial revolution. Okay, that is because during this time coal, gas, and oil are already discovered. Then again, obviously, because of these discoveries, industrialization already occurred. So here, from small scale to factory scale production is already being observed, and the establishment or the growth of manufacturing businesses are also a key feature of this particular society. Now, after this manufacturing or processing society comes what we call the future man-made world or the society that we have as of today. Okay, here we already know how to recycle our resources so that we can satisfy our own needs. Okay, because we all know, 'di ba? Our needs increases as time passes by, and in view of that the resources on the other hand needs to be sustainably managed, right? So that in that particular sense there's a need for us to recycle resources. Thus also the advent of the technology that allows us to produce synthetic food. Okay, if you're familiar with bioengineering, that is one like field that is very um like one key field that is very evident, okay, and sought after nowadays because imagine because of bioengineering you're capable of editing the genes of different living organisms so that you can highlight their beneficial effects and minimize their negative ones. So That includes the agricultural crops that we consume primarily for food. So, thus the production of different synthetic food. Okay? So, those are like the different societies, okay, and how they evolved. So, going back, we started as hunter gatherers, nomads who are dependent on the resources available in our nature until we're able to finally learn how to settle and have our own like shelter and create or domesticate animals and cultivate crops, practice agriculture within the bounds of our territory or our like houses. Okay, and then come after that is industrialization, where manufacturing and processing society dominated. And then lastly, the ones that characterizes our current society is the future man-made world. But on top of it, there's another personality who's known for his classification of society that is related with what? With technology. Okay? And that comes in the personality of Alvin Toffler. Okay, so Alvin Toffler is the one who classified societies based on the concept of waves, where each wave propels the older societies and cultures aside. So, if you're going to imagine a wave in the ocean, of course. So, ano bang nangyayari doon, 'di ba? As one wave comes into the shore, another one follows through. And the thing in here is that if we are to use that analogy dito sa classification of society ni Alvin Toffler, sabi nga dito, each wave propels the older societies and cultures aside. Kumbaga, new waves resembles the new generations or the new type of society. Okay? Overlapping or kumbaga pushing aside the older ones. So see Alvin Toffler, additional information about him is that he is a writer and a futurist, and his works are known to be in the field of digital evolution, communication evolution, and technological singularity. So if you can recall, we've had four types of society that we've discussed just a while ago. Same goes with Alvin Toffler. Actually, itong mga society that again he identified according to waves, okay, can be related to the previous types of society I have shared. So, starting with the first wave society, okay, um, with the first wave society, it is the one that replaced the hunter gatherers after the agrarian revolution. So, ibig sabihin, kung kanina nag-start po tayo sa classification of hunter-gatherers, si first wave society, it is like the, ano po, yung shifters or farmers. Okay, yun yung kanyang counterpart doon sa ating previous classification of society. Kaya nga sabi dito, this first wave society according to Toffler is composed of farmers. And during this time, technology is already being produced, though in just a small scale kasi nga again, we're just starting to practice agriculture during this time. Thus, the small scale technologies produced in here are primarily products of trial and error. So afterwards comes obviously what comes after first. That's the second wave. And again, the second wave is the latest one, okay, after the first wave. So with second wave, this is resembling the manufacturing or the processing society or the ones that um is dominated by or like the society when industrial revolution exists. So here it is the society that has flourished during the period of the industrial revolution until the end of World War II. Again, we all know that a lot of factors affects the dissemination and the production or the growth of technology. That includes wars. Okay? Natural calamities, wars, and other abiotic factors, periodic disturbances. Okay? they are also key factors that affects the development of technology. So in this case, despite of the World War One and World War Two happening, our society our society's technology still evolved. Okay, with second wave society going back, the scientific knowledge is spread across the world for the first time. Okay, kasi nga, we all know when we say world war, that that doesn't like focuses on the allied and axis power, but at the same time with other countries. Kasi one way or another, almost like it's a global type of war. So almost everyone has been involved or affected one way or another in the particular war. So again, for us to primarily preserve life during this war, scientific knowledge and technological advances are a necessity. Okay, for one survival. So here, during the second wave society, okay, the the society was required to mass produce, okay, different resources, and at the same time, of course, to mass consume. Okay, sabi nga dito, this society is characterized by the mass production, mass consumption, mass distribution, and even the production of weapons of mass destruction. Okay, kasi nga again, this is the time where World War is happening. Okay, so um some like key things to also take note of is that the scientific advancement that has been prevailing during this time are those involved in the fields of physics, biology, and chemistry. Okay, so let's now move on to the last wave, which is the third wave. And again, this obviously is the society um covering the post industrialized society after the World War II. So here, people are already using modern technologies like computers and already know the concept and practices applies the concept of robotics so that we can create products and even do daily life activities with the aid of them. Okay, so it is associated with the scientific technological evolution. So like if we are to check nowadays, or I mean sorry, if we are to identify the society we're living as of today, that can be cited or related with the third wave society. So once again, according to Alvin Toffler, there are three different waves or societies. First is the first wave society, which is resembling that of the agrarian or the shifters, the farmers. Okay. Second one is obviously the second wave society, where manufacturing and processing society is its counterpart. This is the time when technology is still revolutionizing, even if World War II is ongoing. And then lastly, we got the third wave society, which characterized the post industrialized society after the World War. Okay, now we're done talking about the different societies and how they evolved through time. But at this point, let's talk about the different kinds of technology naman. Okay, so we have different types of society and we also have different kinds of technology. Now, if you may see here in our slides, diba, obviously we got the following types of technology. We got the energy technology, the equipment technology, life technology, information technology, and lastly, the materials technology. And generally, if we are going to analyze it, diba, we have different sources of energy, right? Some are eco-friendly, but others are not. Okay, so if it's an energy type that can harm human beings, whether directly or indirectly, obviously it is considered as a not good source of energy. And so much as possible, we try to what we try to minimize, or as much if we can avoid using such types of technology. So what are some examples of different sources of technology, or I'm sorry, energy rather? Okay, some examples includes what? Yung common, 'di ba? We burn coal so that we can produce energy. Wind, solar panels, hydrothermal vents, and even biogas, 'di ba? Biogas is a type of energy or a source of energy that comes from waste products. Okay? And sabi nga natin, as society evolved, of course, technology also evolved through time. Okay? And ano pa ba yung other thing that affects the evolution or the type of technology? Of course, the energy sources. Kasi as our technology advances, if you're going to check it, our energy source options also increases. 'Di ba? Dumadami or yes, lumalawak yung technology natin, pero the sources of energy that is needed for the technology to expand, the source of energy is also increasing. So, what is like the goal of experts, like different scientists, specialists, or professionals during this time in this particular field of technology? Okay, where technology advancement entails energy increase. So, of course, their role is to find or look for what? Different energy sources that's not going to cause any negative effect on the humans and the environment. Okay, if they can generate, convert, and distribute sources of energy that are um, nature or environment friendly, then that's like the main goal. Okay, so let's talk about the different types of technology in here, starting with the equipment technology. So, what do you think are some examples of um, equipment technology? Sige nga, please pause this video and try to cite at least two examples of equipment technology. Ano ba yung mga products of equipment technology? Okay. So, at this point, let's try to check ano nga ba yung equipment technology. This particular technology class involves the design and the fabrication of different instrument. Kaya nga equipment eh. So, ibig sabihin, ito yung technology that we use so that we can produce, design, okay, instruments, tools, gadgets, and machine that is what? That is needed for us to create another product. Okay, always remember that. Pag equipment technology, obviously, we're talking about the different, the different instruments, tools, and gadgets. Okay, creation of those so that we can create another product. Okay, I'm sorry for the dog barking in the background if you're hearing it. No, but moving forward, another thing that you could think of when you talk about equipment technology are some manufacturing tools. Halimbawa, yung mga laser, robots, spinning wheels, and yung different types of motors. All of those are examples of equipment technology. Okay, or applications, product of equipment technology. Those are things that we use to produce another product. Now let's talk about information technology. I believe this one is like a very, I mean, it's just a piece of cake. Okay, you can definitely give an example of this. Please try to pause this video and give me at least two examples of information technology products. Okay, so let's talk about it right now. No, so if we talk about IT or information technology, this refers to what? The tools and the gadgets that we use to what? To manage, process, and of course, distribute information or digital information. Okay? So that involves softwares, right? So, how about life technology naman? So, with life technology, you can associate it with biology, life. Okay? So, the main goal of life technology is to preserve, maintain, and treat what? Treat living organisms. Okay, actually, if we can reproduce as well, well, that also falls below, under rather, falls under life technology scope. Okay, because some examples of this are the fields of genetic engineering. Okay, where again, 'di ba, sabi ko nga kanina, genetic engineering is like one field as of today that is responsible for the advancement, creation of new um, medically related procedures that preserves life and at the same time enhances the traits or the features of different living organisms, especially those that are in the field of agriculture. Okay, if you're familiar with GMOs or genetically modified organisms, halimbawa yung um, what do you call this one? Yung golden rice. And that's an example of a genetically modified organism. You modify or genetic engineers modify the genes of the rice plant so that it actually like it's I don't know if you're familiar with it, but just to give you some context, golden rice obviously looks like yellow. I mean, it's yellowish or golden in color, but it's still rice. Okay. Now, the reason behind such color change is because of the gene that genetic engineers get from squash. I mean, ano bang Tagalog ng squash? Kalabasa. Yan, kalabasa. Pumpkin. Ah, pumpkin, squash. They're just like the same, 'di ba? I mean, they differ only in size. Just correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my idea. But going back, so yun nga si kalabasa, si squash. Okay. It's color yellow and it's noted to what? Sabi nga nila, ang kalabasa ay pampalinaw ng paningin, ng mata, kumbaga. So, why? That's because of the vitamin present within it. If I'm not mistaken, that's vitamin A. Okay. So, the one or the gene responsible for vitamin A production in pumpkin or kalabasa, squash, is also the one responsible for its color. Okay? Kasi parang ano it has this like beta carotene within it. Okay? So what they did, they get that gene responsible for the synthesis of vitamin A that is again also the one allowing us to have good eyesight, and they put it in the DNA of the rice plant. Okay, so as the gene from the squash added to the genes of the rice plant, obviously what happened is the growing rice plant eventually developed that yellow coloring and at the same time has been tested to have higher concentration of vitamin A, which is again very good for eyesight. Now, what's like the reason why they did it? That is not just simply for the rice to have that different color, but it is noted or there has been some researches done where majority of the people, okay, making up the minority, okay, or those who are those who are not able to provide for their food 3 times a day. I think you get what I mean. Okay. Most of the time, they are only capable of eating twice a day and just they can only provide for rice. Okay. Wala na silang ulam. Okay. Most of the time, puro kanin lang yung kinakain nila. And that same research also advised that aside from being malnourished, children from coming from that segment of the society also have poor eyesight. So to somehow like answer that problem, they come up with that. Okay, with rice plant. I'm sorry, with the golden rice rather. So that's it. Another example of that is the BT corn. I don't know if you're familiar with it. BT stands for Bacillus thuringiensis. That is the bacteria that they've used. Okay, obviously, what they did is they get a gene from the BT or Bacillus thuringiensis bacteria that can give corn like a built-in anti or like insecticide property. Okay, because um, corn is one of the crops that are affected by pest known as corn borers. Now, Bacillus thuringiensis bacteria has this property or this ability to disrupt, okay, or to upset the stomach of um, corn borers, ng mga peste na yun. So, what they did is, ayun nga, they use or get the Bacillus thuringiensis gene, put it in the DNA of the corn, then they are able to test that those corns with Bacillus thuringiensis genes are resistant from corn borers. Okay? And nothing to worry because that property of Bacillus thuringiensis to compromise the digestive system of corn borers are just for the corn borers. It's not affecting yung pong mga tao. Okay, it's still safe for um, consumption po among human beings. So that is just some examples of life technology direct application under genetic engineering. Aside from genetic engineering, obviously, here comes the vaccines, antibiotic, organ transplant, surgery, and other even herbal medicines or also falls under life technology. Now, let's move on into the third one that is the materials technology. So with materials technology, obviously this one involves the extraction, fabrication, and synthesis of materials that is specific, especially or specifically beneficial for mankind. What are some examples of those? Well, obviously, yung mga raw materials, 'di ba? Mga raw materials na kailangan natin dun sa mga products na we use every day. Okay? Um, Halimbawa diyan yung mga iron brass, ano ba ba, plastic, porcelain, ceramics, 'yan, 'di ba? Those are some raw materials that is needed for the different tools that we're using to perform our day-to-day task. Okay? So those are the different um examples in applications of different technology. Once again, we got the energy technology. Obviously, it focuses on energy production. We are aiming for a energy friendly source. I'm sorry, uh, environment friendly source of energy rather. Equipment technology, of course, it focuses on the production of equipment. Life technology is for the preservation and enhancement of life. Information technology is the one responsible for the management of data. Okay, and then materials technology, it focuses on the production of raw materials. Now, if I am going to ask you, how are you going to characterize the society before and now? How are you going to describe then and now? Sige nga, please pause this video and try to answer that question. You may try to cite specific scenarios that you can use no to compare how is the society before and today, how is technology yes before and today, how is our lifestyle before and today. So sige nga, pause this video and answer that question. Now you may be wondering, why am I asking you that question? That's because, okay, the changes that we've witnessed in science and technology nowadays is in view of the concept known as substitution and diffusion. Okay, so I believe diffusion is like a common term that you encounter in your science class, lalo na nung high school kayo, 'di ba? Sabi nga natin, diffusion is what? It's the movement of molecule from higher area concentration to lower area concentration. Okay, same goes with uh technology, we can make use of the concept of diffusion in such way. Bakit? Anong ibig sabihin ba nun, ma'am? 'Di ba nga sabi natin diffusion from higher concentration to lower concentration. When we say diffusion, literally it refers to the diffuse, to the spread. Okay? How technology spreads from its source papunta doon sa mga receivers who didn't have an idea about that particular technology. Okay? So, kumbaga, it's a movement from the source of the technology towards the receivers who are meant to receive such technologies. So, let's try to further talk about substitution and diffusion. Una sa lahat, when we say substitution, as simple as substituting, okay, or replacement. This is where we replace technology with a new one or with a better one. Okay. Um, how can we cite an example of this? Well, obviously the reason why we have different updates doon sa mga devices natin, yung mga softwares natin, 'di ba? From time to time, it upgrades. That is an example of substitution. We are improving the performance by eliminating some bugs, fixing some errors, and whatnot. So, those are just examples of substitution. But um, aside from that classic example of like the update, okay, substitution is also seen in, for example, previously we're using typewriter, but right now we're using laptops and PCs, right? So that is just an example. Again, we substitute a technology, we replace it with a better one. Okay. It focuses on the performance and the functionality. Okay. And actually, substitution, if you're going to check it, how is it? Is it like moving faster in this day and age in comparison with the previous generation, with the previous period? What can you say about it? Mas mabilis bang nasa-substitute yung technology nowadays kaysa dun sa mga technology natin sa during the 19th century or early 20th century? What do you think about it? Share your answers to this question as well. Okay. How about diffusion naman, ma'am? Okay, again, like what I mentioned a while ago, diffusion refers to the adoption of the technology. Usually, diffusion happens when, I mean, like, of course, when a source of technology tries to disseminate it, to share it to other parts or members of the society. Okay, it can happen in a very, very fast pacing, but it may also happen in um I mean, that's dependent on the receivers, okay, of the technology itself. But I hope you get what I mean when we say diffusion. Okay, so if we are to also check it, how is diffusion happening? Diyan papasok yung tinatawag nating modernity, homophily, physical distance, and opinion leadership. These are factors that affects how technology diffuses or spreads out. Okay? So, halimbawa, kasi if you're going to look at it, 'di ba? A lot of factors affect how one technology can diffuse. Um, Pwedeng sa generation, for example, yung mga younger generations, they are more welcoming to new technologies in comparison with the older generations. Okay? So, those are some factors. Let's try to talk about the ones noted in here further. Example is, or let's start with modernity. Okay? With modernity, ito yung sinabi ko rin sa inyo just a while ago, no? This is like the extent to which a culture is receptive to new things. When we say receptive, welcoming, kumbaga, they accept. So, halimbawa, sa Britain kasi, and in Saudi Arabia, tradition is greatly valued. Okay? So, that means if the new technology is something that somehow affects their tradition, okay, it's very difficult for them, or I mean it's not easy for them to receive such new product or new technology. Okay, in comparison with the United States, which is in the contrast, this country focuses on what they value progress more, right? So it tends to, or that country US tends to receive new technology easier, okay, in comparison with Great Britain and Saudi Arabia. So that's for modernity. How about with homophily or homophili? So with homophili, okay, the more similar each other in a specific culture, okay, or each member of a society, with respect to their culture, the more likely that innovation is going to spread doon sa alin? Doon sa members or within that same society po. Okay? Kumbaga, ang idea lang niyan is that kapag parehas kayo ng taste sa technology, most likely, mabilis nyong i-receive yung technology na yun. Kasi nga, parehas kayo ng taste. So, mas mabilis na siyang mag-disperse, mag-diffuse sa members of your society. Okay? Kasi nga, ayun, kumbaga parang halimbawa, yung kaklase mo, gusto niya ng iPhone, yung isa naman Android, okay, wala namang problema doon. Pero kung halimbawa is, yung kaklase mo na mayroong iPhone was able to share the features of iPhone to another one who's looking into buying a new phone, and then they clicked, okay, most probably that particular person will be recruited to buy the same iPhone. So, may mga gano'n naman, 'di ba? Wala namang problema do'n sa differences. It's just that once again, similarities when it comes to preferences obviously is another feature that affects diffusion, and that falls under homophily. If you're wondering like what countries are rapidly adopting to the different technological advancement nowadays, what do you think are those countries po? Can you give me some? Please pause this video po, no, and try to share what do you think are the countries that are rapidly adopting new technologies. Okay. Actually, if you've answered US and Japan, that is correct. No, that is correct because again, they progressed, or they value progress, and again, that's the reason why they receive technology very very easy as well. Eto, next one is physical distance. I don't think I need to further elaborate on this because it's pretty self-explanatory, right? With physical distance, the greater the distance between people, the less likely innovation is to spread. Of course, halimbawa, kung ako ay nakatira sa bundok, sa mataas na lugar, sa bundok nga, yan. Tapos, yung kaibigan ko naman na merong contact or merong access sa technology ay nasa urban area, okay, or urban place, nasa city, tapos ako ay nasa province, tapos nasa bundok pa ako literal, for example, no? This is me not like discriminating those people living or settling in mountain tops, okay? Well, I like hiking of actually, no, but going back, um that physical distance, that physical barrier really affects technology kasi una sa lahat, alam naman natin 'no, halimbawa, kunwari lang 'no, sa as simple as with internet connection, um, it's very difficult to establish what, um, different, I mean, like ask someone who's working on different internet service providers, 'di ba? It's very difficult to get connections in those spots because it's not easy to install poles just for the wires and all for the internet to work. Okay. Regardless, it I mean, may it be wireless or like lined physically connection, still different areas demands different. ways of installation, and that affects dissemination of technology. Okay, the farther or yes, the further you are from the source of technology, most likely the later you are going to receive it. Okay. Lastly is opinion leadership. I'm sorry, leadership. Okay. So here, this is where the charismatic influencers gets into the scene. Okay? Mas evident to nowadays, 'di ba? Kaya nga 'di ba minsan, I mean, before we get a service, before we buy something, ang pinaka-common nating ginagawa ngayon is we check on the reviews. We check the blogs created by the influencers or kahit yung mga mismong literal na ano na leader leader figures in our society, 'di ba? We looked into whatever they're using, and subconsciously it affects the way we choose things as well, 'di ba? Parang sabi nga, bakit ba tayo gumagamit ng mga model, mga ang tawag nito? Yes, yung mga model sa mga ano natin, sa mga commercial, 'di ba? Bakit nila pinipili yung BTS or ba't nila pinipili yung mga gantong personalities to endorse? Kasi nga those personalities has this effect, this influence to us that can also affect the way we choose technology or products in general. Okay? So, I hope you get what I mean po, no? Most of the time, it's not more into the product na itself, 'di ba? But it's more into whoever's endorsing it and how they endorse it. That kind of influences the way we choose things. Okay. And if we are to further identify like countries who are like less innovative, you can actually see that this opinion leadership like acts quite effective the most. Why? Because ayun, with less innovative countries, usually sila yung mga countries na hindi masyadong open sa lahat. Okay, and nakadepend lang sila sa kung anong preference ng leader nila. So if their leader is not receptive of the new technology, then expect that the majority of the society is also following such. Okay? So that's it for the substitution and diffusion. Now, we're already done talking about the different types of society according to Toffler, then the general identification of societies. We also are done talking about the substitution and diffusion concept of technology. But how about national development through science and technology? Okay, like how is it achieved? Okay, class, in this day and age, it's very important that you take note of a nation that does not prosper on these grounds. I mean, like grounds of science and technology, they would never be able to sustain the lives of their people and may have to solely depend on other nations for their basic requirements. Because if you're going to look at it, diba, how do you see technology 5, 10, 11, or like 20 years from now? Obviously, there's no other way, but I mean, there's no other way for it but to go up, right? To rise even further from their current status. So, hindi na siya yung ano, eh, hindi na siya yung luxury lang, hindi lang siya yung wants lang. Technology and to keep up with its pacing is a need already. Okay? It's part of the changing environment that we need to adapt ourselves into, or else we're going to perish. We're going to die. We're not going to like meet the basic needs that we have. Parang ganun na siya. Okay? Kasi nga, sabi nga dito, it's a basic requirements na. So, How do we scale? How do we measure? How do we understand the development of a country, okay, with respect to science and technology? Well, of course, parang sa grades lang din 'yan, 'di ba nga sabi natin, how can we say, like, in a formal school setup or academic setup, how can we say that a student is learning if that student is showing good grades? Then sabi nga nila, pero again, 'di ba, sabi nga natin, hindi naman lahat ng mataas ang grade ay talagang natututo, okay? Puwedeng yung iba magaling lang dumiskarte, puwede yung iba magaling lang mag-memorize, puwede yung iba talagang may mga problema lang na fini-face kaya medyo hindi makapag-focus but has some potentials. Well, let's not dwell into those issues, no? Let's go back here. We need to have indicators to check our progress. And examples or some indicators that our country uses to check or scale its development are the following. First is we got the GDP, or the gross domestic product. Second is the per capita income. Third is the income distribution. Fourth is the gross national product, or the GNP. Fifth is the employment rate. Sixth is the structure of labor force. Seven is the human life expectancy. And lastly is the percentage of urban population. So let's start with the gross domestic product, or GDP. Most likely, I don't know if you've had like an economic subject, but if you don't have any, at least kahit papano, this is one term that we encounter kahit sa balita minsan, 'di ba? Lalo na if the news topic is all about economic growth and all, right? GDP and GNP are some of the constant terms you're going to hear kapag ganun. So, GDP, or gross domestic product, measures either the income or the expenditures within a specific country. Okay? How? Because this refers, or this covers the money spent by consumers on goods, income from businesses, and the government investment. So, simply put, the total value of goods and services provided in a country in a year, that's the gross domestic product. So, yung pong mga um, goods and services na naibenta, naibigay sa isang country, yan, they check it, they compute it, and that's the gross domestic product. Okay? What's per capita income naman? This refers to the average income earned by a person in a particular place. Actually, if you can relate this one to the ano, to the ano, to the, I don't know if you're familiar with it, pero sabi nga nila, 'di ba, magkaiba yung rate kapag ikaw ay nagwo-work sa city, halimbawa sa Makati, ayan, sa Manila, Quezon City, kung sa province ka. Sabi mas mababa 'pag sa province, provincial rate ang tawag, kesa sa mga cities. Well, that's actually correct, class, no? Why? If I'm not mistaken, this per capita income is also like, this per capita income is one of those factors that affect it. Okay. Obviously, pag mas mataas yung income na na-earn ng karamihan ng tao sa isang lugar, that's their per capita income. That means that somehow reflects the status of, or yes, the economic status of those people living in that area. Okay. Ano pa bang like another feature? If you're going to look at it, sabi nga nila, 'di ba, mas murang kumuha ng bahay sa mga provinces kaysa sa mga cities, mas murang mag-rent, okay? Kasi nga again, the lifestyle of people living in a specific area somehow influences and describes the economic status and quality of life in those areas. So who's the one checking all these things, all this information? It's the PSA, or the Philippine Statistics Office. Okay. Next one, if GDP refers to the services, okay, to the services, to the goods provided in a country in a year. Okay, either the income or the expenditures within the country. GNP, okay, gross national product, refers to the sum of all the goods and services produced in a country per year by its people. Yung gross domestic product class, this only focuses on the services, okay, and the products within the country, not including those that has been like earned outside the country. Okay? Laging tandaan. Pag GNP naman, this also involves the income produced by the people of the Philippines outside the Philippines. Okay? So, how do you get GNP? Go. I already gave you the formula in here. You are you're going to need to add the income of the people and the income of the people overseas. Then you deduct from it the income paid to the foreigners working in the Philippines or for the Philippines. And that's the gross national product. Okay? You're covering everything. Sum of all the goods and services produced in the country per year by its people. Um, Kasi nga, alam naman natin, may mga OFW. Okay, they're still considered Filipinos, but they're just simply residing outside the Philippines. So, still, we need to account their income. Kaya, meron kayo income overseas. Sa GDP, we are not considering that. Okay? So, next one is income distribution. So, here, from the term itself, okay, simply put, we are identifying the income of the Filipinos and how is it distributed. Okay? Sabi, it measures how the GDP of a country is distributed equally. Are the services and the products produced within a country distributed equally all throughout the country? Okay? Another like simple description of income distribution is the distribution of rich and the poor. Unfortunately, here in the Philippines, okay, 1% only controls most of the wealth in the country. That leaves 99% in the marginalized part. Okay. Ibig sabihin, 1% lang po yung may upper hand when it comes to income distribution. Next one is the employment rate. Alam naman na natin ito, no? Like, this measures what? The available labor resources that is being utilized. Ilan ba yung mga nagwo-work? Okay. What is the ratio of the employed to the working age population? So, if we meet the ratio of the working age population, that means we're good. So anything that is above 70, that's considered high already. Everything or anything that's below 50 is low employment rate. And last time I checked, okay, February 2023, according to PSA, the employment rate here in the Philippines is around 95.2%. So that's very high. That's very good. Okay? Meaning a lot of Filipinos are being employed with respect. Okay, there's a high ratio of Filipinos being employed with respect to the working age population. Yung dami ng dapat ay nagtatrabaho ay mataas. Okay, they follow through. So that's very good. Next one is the structure of the labor force. So from this, okay, we're just simply getting the sum or the total of all the men and women who are able to work, be employed, or unemployed. Okay. And last thing that I've checked as well, I mean, like majority of the data I am getting is from February 2023. According to PSA, the labor force participation rate of the Philippines is 66.6%. Okay. Another thing, and I think this is the last two indicators of national development. Okay. We are going to talk about the human life expectancy. Okay. Obviously, what is this one? This refers to the average number of years an individual or group of people could be expected to live. In the Philippines, okay, based on what I gathered last time, I think this one. Yan. Okay. The life expectancy in the Philippines, this is obtained last Thursday, May 4, 2023. Okay, during the time I prepared the presentation. Um 71.7 years is the general life expectancy of Filipinos. But to be specific, 68.7 yung sa men, 74.7 naman yung sa women. Okay? They also got the median age, sex ratio. Okay? Almost same naman tayo. 57 million men to 57 million women. Okay. So, going back, the expectancy of male Filipinos are 68.7, whereas females are 74.7. Why are men living shorter than women? Okay. Researches states that the reason why male have shorter lifespan is because of lots of factors. They're the one who are most likely suffering from heart diseases. Another thing is that they are also the one that is prone from suicide. Okay. That is in view to them not being able to express themselves as much as females does. So that's some factors bonus. If you're a male, I'm not saying na ano, you're too emotional or whatnot, but still, I mean that's just that is like, of course, a product of research, but at the end of the day, it is still you. 'Di ba nga, sabi ko nga dun sa discussion natin ng human flourishing, regardless of the situation, you are the one who's going to choose what makes you happy or not. Okay, but going back again, this is the human life expectancy for male and females. Next one is the percentage of urban population. I actually this is the last one. Okay, so for the percentage of people, I'm sorry, percentage of urban population, this refers to the percentage of people living in urbanized areas or sa mga cities, okay, not provinces or rural ones that are not depending upon agricultural products and other government agencies, okay? Ito yung mga tao na directly participating into, like, the common corporate jobs, the jobs that doesn't require, or yes, doesn't depend directly on agricultural related like work. Yeah. So those are the different indicators of national development. Okay, and I hope somehow you get to learn it. Now, as a closing remark in this particular lesson, I'm sorry it's almost 1 hour already, but um I just wanted to leave you with this one. A nation's development and improvement is assessed to a large extent by the status of its science and technology. And we know that really is true, right? Okay. Science and technology really plays a major role onto the nation's development. Okay. Now, if we do not have like a proper implementation of science and technology, obviously our nation cannot grow. Okay, so as Filipinos who make up this society, we hold equal responsibility for the growth of our country. Okay, babalik at babalik yan. Kanino? Sa atin. Kasi nga, di ba, sabi ko nga sa inyo, science, technology, and society are related to each other. Di ba? Sino bang magdidikta ng science and technology? Sinong gagawa? Sino mag improve at magde-develop? Yung society. So, the type of society that you have will dictate the type of science and technology that you're going to have as well. Okay? So, we must aim to develop different technologies and consequent industries to bring jobs to our fellow Filipinos para po alin? Para una, we can increase our GDP, our GNP, and our employment rate. Okay? We must also aim to provide equal opportunities for all Filipinos so that we can minimize inequality in our nation. Okay? We must also provide all Filipinos access to premium health care so that what? We can improve our life expectancy and at the same time develop strategies to combat environmental pollution. Kasi nga again, if we are able to extend our life, we are able to extend the way we help our society, we're able to extend, okay, yung kaya pa nating gawin for the development of science and technology. So that ends our discussion for this particular lesson. Once again, this is Miss De La Torre. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great day ahead. Bye.